Hi everyone, I am here. Thank you for waiting. I have actually not really been on Facebook at all. I forgot that I was going to need to re-download the app and do all this other stuff. So I'm here, even though I'm late. Today is going to be awesome. We're going to actually be talking about the idea of women and children really being like property and material goods, and how that idea has sort of sunk into our into the belief system, the belief structure of us in America, especially, and kind of all over the world, because this idea of women as property has been around forever. So when you pop on, say hi. I'd love to know who's on and who I'm talking to. And this is really going to mesh into why you're really having those struggles with your own children about things like self-worth and maybe activities that they want, or just I know that this time of year is when people are getting their tax refunds and all of this, and you really start thinking about what money you're going to, like where you're going to be putting that money if you got a refund, or again, this is if you're in America. And then just around the world, this whole idea that women are property, children are property, they were a way to help create the good. So if you're a farmer or a blacksmith, we were really a very goods-based society for a super, super long time. And until just literally my generation, there's no way that my husband and I were just talking about this actually, there's no way that our parents could have ever imagined that we were going to be living in a time where we are services. Really, it's not about being a good anymore, not really creating a physical object anymore, or if you are, it's something new and different and not what we've always had. Things like Sharpies are now created in a manufacturing. My cell phone is made inside of a automated system. GM still makes most of their cars in America, but they only need a quarter of the physical human staff to create these cars. So we're moving to automation, but this isn't something that our parents would have ever imagined. You have to realize that in the 80s, computers still were taking up like really large areas, and like the personal computer didn't even come out until the late 80s or early 90s, I think. So when you look at raising your children, you have to realize that it's impossible to continue raising our children the way that we were raised, the way our parents were raised, the way that the entire human species has been raised, because we're no longer a good. We're no longer training to create a physical object. We are moving into this service-based industry. So you think about like massage therapy, it's a service. Getting your nails done, getting your hair done. Someone makes your bath bombs, right? But like that's only a few people can really make bath bombs. Like I know a lot of my friends that do it just for fun, just to make a little money on the side, but like actually making a business or making a stamp, like that was Lush. Lush is totally the one, like when you think bath bomb, you think Lush, like immediately, right? The other thing, again, like I said, like your cell phone, most cell phones are made in China, and that's because China has like a better area to be in, to receive the parts and then to make it, and they've got more workers for a lower cost. Like it's just more cost efficient. So in America, we are raising children who are going to have to become a service. They're going to have to go into a customer service job. My husband works in the tech world, so a programmer is still technically a service, right? Because they're creating the software, and the software though is usually a service-based software like QuickBooks or PayPal or Facebook. Like those are all services, and so the programmer is really just creating codes and digits, commas and all of that to create a new service. Apps, all of your apps are technically a service, right? So that's what we're doing. We are now raising children that are going to become a service. And if you come from a long line of hard workers like farmers and blacksmiths, like I said, or these brick and mortar type things. Like, look at all the brick and mortar shops that are now shut down, guys. Shopko just went down. Payless, Kmart, all of the ones that are just like, they're gone. Because it's all Walmart, Target, and Amazon. Those are like the only places that you can buy anything, really. There's like a few little shops here and there that are like so big in other countries that they're still making it in America. But really, we are raising children that are going to be service-based. More than 78%, I believe, of children will end up in a job where they are going to need technological skills, which is why you'll never hear me tell you to limit your kids' screen time or to worry about what they're watching, or I believe information is information, and that as long as you're willing to have open conversations and teach values and really create your own values, then there's nothing in this world that's really going to harm your child by them watching it. Like, they just everyone keeps trying to say that playing violent video games is what causes the mass shootings, even though that's been proved over and over and over again that that's not true. And you know, you're just as likely to be aggressive after playing an actual sports game, or even like ping pong with your dad or something like that, than you are to be aggressive from playing like Fortnite or whatever the fuck the kids are playing nowadays. My kids they're not really into guns, right? So we've talked about guns a lot in my household, and they know that we believe in the right to bear arms, but not really, like, we're not gun owners, but if we felt the need to, we would want that ability. So, but these are because I have open conversation with my children, and my oldest is 10. So you have to like, I've been having these conversations for most of his life, and really over the last 2 years, really, as I created my values. That's bullshit. Okay. So when you realize that you're raising children who are going to be service-based, when you realize that you have children who are going to become teachers, who maybe, when you look at, you know, old in France, okay, in France they have Notre Dame and all that. That actually happened during a time of economic prosperity in which no one was poor, no one was starving. So all of the citizens had their base needs met, and when your base needs are met, all of a sudden other parts of your brain get activated and you are able to create beautiful things. So Notre Dame was actually created because that city had all this excess, and they were like, let's build something super awesome. And that's how Notre Dame was built. And a lot of those great cathedrals that took 100 years or so, we are moving towards that as a global society. The fact that I'm talking to people all over the world right now, that this can be shared all over the world, that there are 1 billion people on Facebook, and then I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel and all the other people that are on there, like, that just shows you that we really are moving into this time where we are going to find an equilibrium. And yeah, it's going to be really hard for a long time, but that's because the greatest dissonance needs to be felt before you can like really harmonize. Have you ever listened to music that you're just like, oh my gosh, if it keeps getting any like more off, then I'm not going to be able to listen to it anymore, and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, and it's like the most beautiful piece of music you ever heard. You need that dissonance. You really need that like like the harmony that's like, oh my god, that doesn't sound right. Just, you know, it fits together perfectly, but for a minute there, you're just like, oh my god, this is never gonna work. The violent video game does not create the mass shooting. Guess I should have explained further into my that's bullshit comment. Well, okay, I was all like, what is bullshit? Because I'm quoting all these studies, I promise. Like, I have a 10-year-old, I have to have these conversations. Sweet, cool. Sweet, Jamie. So what does this have to be with being a mom and being a used car? I promise. So what this has to do with it is the idea that we used to be a good-based society. Everyone had to build, even, yes, Enya in massage school. I love it. Okay. I'm not quite sure what that means, but, so I do love Enya, though. Throwing me off. So when you think about the fact that we all used to be a good, or we would create goods, or we were farmers, or all these things, and it really wasn't until this most recent generation our generation, that we're becoming service-based, then you have to also put in the idea that women and children used to be property, right? You could trade, like you would buy your wife. And that still happens in some cultures, right? You buy your wife. And your children, you could actually sell your children for money if you had too many kids because they didn't have birth control, right? So there was no birth control. You got like 10 kids, you can't feed them all. And as soon as one of them's like 9 years old, they could just be sold off as like essentially an indentured servant because there weren't any child labor laws, right? So this is where our society has been like cultivated from, is this idea that women and children are a good and like a good to be traded. Women were really just meant to like raise children and that was it, but they were supposed to raise them for the boys to work a certain job, to learn a certain skill, and the women literally were just supposed to learn how to make more babies later. Okay, so we have come a super as long as you couldn't stand and then it changes, sorry to throw you off, I will just watch it and let it flow. No worries, you're good. So when you realize that this is how we were brought up, you start to realize that this is something that is deeply ingrained in how you act as a mom, okay? Because when you look at epigenetics, you realize that you are the cultivation of the previous 3 generations and that you impact the next 3 generations. And the way your mom acts is the previous 3 generations. That's how epigenetics works. This idea that your beliefs are really based on those previous generations. But it's kind of a continuum, because if their beliefs were based on those previous generations, then it's really that you have beliefs coming back from ever and ever and ever. And that's when it's more, those are become subconscious ingrained. These are things that, like, when you start looking into neuroscience, you have parts of your brain that actually are expecting a certain result. And why, again, dissonance is the best way to create change is because the more that your brain has to be like, no, this does not make any sense. A lot like my live streams. What is happening? I don't get it. I need to know more. Is this dangerous? Like, teach me. I need to understand. That's when you can actually evolve. That's when you can actually ascend. That's when you can actually create the biggest change in your life. So when you want to be a better parent, or when you're trying to get your kids to behave because they're misbehaving, and you guys will always see me use the quotes for the word misbehaving because I don't think that that's a thing. I believe that the whole idea of behaving is actually a huge detriment to our society, because it's like this much of the society behaves and everyone else, if like the width of my phone is everyone else, this much behaves, and everyone else is like, you're either depressed or you're anxious or you're this or you're that, and you're just like, yes, there are going to be far ends, and yes, there's probably like a pinky's width of like people who actually fit into these diagnoses, but those are things that can be seen in a brain scan. And the thing about brain scans, guys, though, is that your brain is changing, changeable, and complex. So complex, obviously. Changing, as in it's always growing and being different. From when you're a baby to when you die, your brain looks different. And changeable, which means that if you start creating new habits, then different parts of your brain strengthen. Essentially, it's just like any other part of your body. So when you think about that, again, this dissonance, this where is she going with this, what the hell does this have to do with a used car, really makes you see that when you have a society that is changing so much, you have such extreme dissonance in society, major areas are going to have to change along with it. We've already seen that in the banking industry. Everything is zeros and ones nowadays, guys. Like, nobody has fucking cash anymore. We see it in the food industry, okay? Where does your food come from? A lot of you guys know that I'm plant-based. It really has nothing to do with the fact that I don't think that people need to eat meat. It's that I have done a lot of research into the farming industry and it's disgusting. And I can't support it and I won't pay money for it, and it's just part of my core beliefs. Again, everything is about a core belief. So again, what does this have to do with a used car? So if your core belief is that a used car, not a brand new shiny car, because brand new shiny cars, that's what you were when you were born. When you were born, you were a brand new shiny car, okay? You had the whole world in front of you and everything was going your way, okay? But over time, you're now a used car. And a lot of people are in, you have that midlife crisis where people literally go get like a Maserati, okay? So you get to this point where you realize that you can either start taking fucking care of your car, your body, your every part, your engine, everything, or you can break the fuck down, right? And let me tell you, as a mom, my car got way more beat up once I had multiple kids, even one kid, than it was before having children. My car used to be clean. I used to have, I would take it to the car wash. I would keep it like clean on the inside. Like I took care of my car. And then all of a sudden, I was taking care of kids all the time. So this happens with moms, right? How many of us have heard self-care is so important? Again, when you're in a society where base needs are already being met, self-care can be easier. But maybe you've come from a situation where your base needs weren't met when you were a child. So now you've created this belief that that the bottom's always going to fall out. You're always thinking to yourself that the engine's going to die, or, you're one of those people that really hoards a lot of stuff. What if I need this later? What if I need this later? And you have like rooms just filled with like closets stuffed with shit, and then a storage unit and a storage room, and then the closet underneath the stairs, and you just have all this stuff, right? And it's material goods, all these things to prove that you're enough and that you have enough and that there's enough money, and that all these things that you do in your life to say that your car is taken care of, your body, that you are taken care of, but you're not actually taking care of yourself. You eat like crap, you don't sleep, you put your kids' needs before yourself, you put your husband's needs before yourself, you put the house's needs before yourself, and to make yourself feel better, you like go shopping, or you have a bubble bath, or you get your hair done or your nails done, something that's very surface level. It's like when you have to get your safety and emissions done on your car and you fail, and all you do is do the bare minimum to pass your safety and nothing else, and you just hope that next year you don't have to do it, right? How many of you have done that? I totally did that, especially during those years that I had kids when they were younger, and it was really just like focus on them. We didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and we had accrued all this debt, and we had thought that we were doing something smart and making a consolidation loan, and it was really just more debt. Which actually reminds me of another service. So we all know what a consolidation debt is, okay? We all know, like, if you have a used car and you need to buy a new car, they'll just like roll your old car loan into your new car, or whatever. They like move your debt from one place to the next. Or you have too much credit card debt, so they use the equity in your car or the equity in your house or whatever you need to do to roll it in, but you really still have the same debt, okay? You still have this material good. You still have this thing that you're like carrying along, and once you pay it off, it's still there, and now all of a sudden you can max it out again. I've done that multiple times because I didn't have values around my money. I never actually sat down with my husband and said, what do we want to do with our money? We are agreed that this is our money. We are agreed that this is our house. We are agreed that these are our children. And having these serious conversations helps you, once you have created a family, to make you realize that your car, you still have to take care of your car. But now you're also taking care of other people's cars too. But if your car isn't, like, you can't drive them anywhere. I talk about all the time about how moms are the decision makers in the house. Moms are usually the ones that decide when they move. Moms are the ones that decide where the school districts are. Moms will often push dads to get a better job because they're the ones that know the finances. Even if they don't know the finances, they're the ones that tell their husband, like, we need this, we need that. So when you're the main decision maker in your house, if you don't have super, super solid boundaries to go against that you have created with anyone else in your household, children included, once they're old enough to start understanding this stuff, those core beliefs and values right now, those are things that you've just inherited from your parents. You haven't actually like looked at each and every single thing that you believe in and decided, is this part of my car worth fixing? Because you've just decided years ago, because you watched your mom, that no, my shame around being a housewife isn't worth fixing because my mom never fixed hers and my grandma never fixed hers, so it's just something that I have to deal with, okay? This is the current societal belief. So maybe one or two of you in here are not in that boat, but what I'm talking about is generally in society, especially in America, is this idea that women were property, is this idea that women aren't worth anything, is this idea that women are worth surface fixes. My child, hold on one please. Go find your brother, please. Go find your brother, please. I don't know why you let go. I want you doing it already. Please just go. I don't care. Just go and don't come back. Oh, he's cute. He's cute. He's also a tattletale. Sorry about that, y'all. Oh my goodness, my nose is running so bad. Okay. So when a woman decides that her used car, her body, is only worth the surface fixes, then it makes it so that when an opportunity comes along for you to get like a full engine rebuild, because, oh, hold on, before that. So you have all this debt, right? You have all this debt, you have all this debt. So I recently had the ability to take my debt, and it's actually, I've traded my debt, minus $3,000 essentially, for a service where this company who there's not very many companies who do this. None of them do it exactly like this company does. It's a very new process. They actually will go after, in a legal way, after all of that debt that I owe and try to get through some of these loopholes, things that the banks and Visa and all these stuff are doing that are actually illegal. And they go after them that way, and even if I don't get all of my debt just taken care of, the company will end up paying off any residual debt. So I am now paying like $300 a month for this service of having a full legal team to help me try to deal with my debt. And now those banks are like, they're closed. I can't go back into $20,000 in debt by using those cards because they're now in litigation. Okay, it's a service I had never heard about. It was something that is totally brand new. They called me out of nowhere. Like, once you're in this flow that I teach other moms to get into, you have these magical moments happen and you're almost like, wow, okay, I was thinking about how was I going to get out of debt? But like, this is brand new. I've never heard of this. And yet it continues to reemphasize this service-based idea. When before, consolidation loans are still using material goods. They're still using the physical debt, right? So this is a complete overhaul of our financial situation, essentially, that's occurring right now, because we did also get our tax returns. So we're actually sitting in a super sweet spot financially for the first time in a while, because as an entrepreneur, you guys all know that you end up usually taking a few months or a year or two to like get back into the black. So when you look at that, though, that took me realizing that I was worth having such an amazing situation occur. Okay, because how many years did I just roll my debt and move it somewhere else and do this with it and then take out this loan and then do that? Because I was still based on the belief that I was only worth having all this debt. And even when we paid it off, like when we bought our house, we paid off all this debt, we still got back into it because I immediately was like, oh, well, I need more goods and I need more this, because I was trying to fill this hole with material objects and not the services I needed to feel better. Now, a lot of that previous debt that I just gave away to that legal warranty place actually was service-based. So again, energy can be energy in these ways too. A lot of that is that I invested about $25,000 on myself over the last 20 months when it comes to becoming the best version of me that I can be. Because I finally decided that I was worth having a complete engine rehaul. I didn't want to take out a new loan, okay? I had gotten that depressed. And when I say that, I mean exit stage right, fucking suicidal, didn't want to continue being a housewife mom, got really bad pregnancy depression. So it was when I was pregnant with my daughter, when I had the most amount of like female hormones rushing through my body. I couldn't handle a lot of what was going on. And then she was born, and was born in such a powerful, amusing way. I knew that I couldn't check out, but I knew that I needed help. I knew that I needed to find a way to no longer be the person that I was. I knew that my transmission had failed. Okay? And I needed a new transmission because I wasn't willing to take out a new car loan. Okay? I wasn't willing to try to go get a new car. I wanted to fix my used car, my old car, but I knew it was going to take a lot of money up front. So this is exactly what happens when it comes to coaching, when it comes to courses, when it comes to traveling to go see someone that you really want to speak. These are big investments up front, but they can make it so that your used car, your body, isn't just like making it through another year. It's not just passing the safety emissions. It's not just getting another haircut. Oh, I did self-care. It's not just taking one of those free 5-day challenges. Oh, I did some self-care. I learned some self-love techniques. It's not doing one of those $500 courses that they only require $50 down and then it's 10 payments of $50 after that or whatever. Those are all incremental. Those are all tiny little surface fixes that aren't going to get down deep into your engine and clean out all the gunk and sparkle it up and give you a new, fuel injector and all the things that you actually need to make your car last you another 100,000 miles, right? I've actually had multiple people tell me when I was on a sales call with them that my cost for working with me is as much as a used car. And that's where this whole thing kind of stemmed from. You guys might not have really noticed, I haven't been on Facebook a lot since the beginning of February, and I've really kind of been in this moment of realizing that Facebook isn't where I want to be anymore. I'm going to be moving most of my stuff to YouTube and just kind of sharing it here, because what I notice about Facebook is that it's a used car supermarket. It's a lot of people out there telling you, I've got the best, and it's like a lot of sales stuff, and a lot of people who sell how to sell, they're making lots of money on Facebook. People who are selling love when it comes to like finding new relationships, they're making a lot of money on Facebook. But when I look at other services on Facebook that are more about rebuilding or make it bigger, faster, stronger sort of thing, those are not doing as well on Facebook. They are real world situations. So I'm going to be having more live events. I'm going to be doing courses here in Utah. I'm going to be creating this ability to have body work done as well as coaching, which is going to be the highest package that I offer because you're getting all of my services at once. I have just came to this point where I realized that I am not a used car in that regards. You telling me that paying my fee is the same as buying a used car is telling me that you are not worth $10,000. That you don't know your worth. I know my worth. I know my worth. It's $10,000 to work with me if it's full pay. It's $11,500 if you use my payment plan. That's it. That's my standard. Again, you guys, I spent this whole thing telling you about standards and core beliefs and realizing that you have to break these systems that are deeply, deeply ingrained. These are not surface fixes. This is ancestral wounding that goes back through societal paradigms that can date back to like Aristotle, okay, and beyond. Sumerian beliefs, all of this stuff that really makes you realize that until you find someone who's already done it, it's really hard to navigate. But there's lots of people out there being this shiny new car salesman, and I'm just not willing to play that game because I'm not a used car salesman. I am offering you the ability to repair your engine. I am offering you the ability to take everything that you have ever known about you, just gut it. Just gut the entire car, put in all new everything, and it still is going to cost you less than a brand new car, because the brand new car is suicide, it's medication where you're not the same person, it's medicating your children because they aren't good enough for you. You can't figure out your own shit, so you're just going to medicate your children and make decisions for you that aren't even yours to make because they're sovereign beings, which is a huge one for me. I made a whole post about it. If y'all want to read it, it's there. This is not easy work. When you send your car into the shop to have it completely gutted and rebuilt, it takes a while. It takes time and it takes money up front, but then you get all this new life out of it. And maybe you can take it on adventures that before you knew that you couldn't make it. Okay? This is what I do. I take you, broken down used car, and make you into a fucking Maserati without you having to change, to give in to the societal beliefs. Because the societal beliefs are telling you that you are not worth it, that you are worth being medicated, that you are worth going to therapy, that you are worth free things and bubble baths and getting your nails done and all those things that I was talking about, new clothes, but you're not worth really fixing on the inside. You're not worth anything except for birthing children and raising them the way that society's always raised them, even though our children will never have jobs like our parents have. The golden age of manufacturing in America was a blip because of World War II. World War II wiped out all these countries, and all of a sudden America was creating 50% of the world's shit, and that's why between 1940 and 1970 there were all these manufacturing jobs, and all these coal mining jobs, and all this other stuff. That's never coming back. Our children are going to be servers. They are going to create services that we don't even know about, like this legal warranty thing that just took my debt and just, there you go. I'm paying for the service, but I'm not paying off that debt. That's not mine anymore. That responsibility is theirs. I am no longer available for society's beliefs to tell me how I should raise my children. If they're monstrous, if they're misbehaving, if they're not in the normal, I don't care. If I'm not in the normal, I'm wearing fucking mismatched earrings, guys. I don't care. It is so liberating to not care, but it also makes me realize that paying for all the services, all of the coaching, all of the high-end coaches, all of the big scary investments are what got me here, are what gave me the realization that I had the authority to now teach other people how to do this. Because go look at some lives even from last year. Guys, I'm like 40 pounds heavier. I'm hiding behind my glasses. I'm not really saying anything new or fresh or different because I was still on the light grid. I was still trying to be a used car salesman, following all these people and trying to figure out how I could maybe have an impact in the world. I don't really care about my impact right now. What I care about is getting this message out because it's coming out of me and flowing out of me and I gotta tell someone, and that's about it. This is why I'm getting off of Facebook. This is why I'll be going onto YouTube. This is why I can feel that I'm growing and being bigger and expanding to this new level that this used car supermarket, I just don't have space for it anymore because I am not trying to serve you in fixing your surface issues. I'm not trying to sell you a new used car with some little cheapo program. No, I'm trying to help you become a whole being who can accept every single part of the engine that was there and just clean it up, guys. Like, we're not giving you a new engine. I know I said that earlier, but what I mean is like an engine rebuild where you take out the old engine and you clean it up and you put in the new parts and you really make sure that the structure is there and you tighten any bolts that have fallen out and then you put that engine back in, okay? It's a rebuild. It's a reboot. It's like when your computer system gets a virus and you've got to like reload Windows onto it. And you didn't have to wipe it completely, but you did have to put in some new things, and you have to get rid of the virus here, and you gotta take and put in the file, because we're not trying to wipe it, okay? These things happen to you. Your life happened to you. Your adventures in your used car, in your car from when you were born to right now, all happened to you. And they're great adventures if you can see the lesson from them. If you can go back and really look and see, oh, this thing in my childhood that I've allowed to own me, I am now going to own it. I'm going to own the fact that I was, from 12 weeks old, left with a babysitter from 9 to 5 every single night. I'm going to own the fact that I was an only child alone a lot of the time, feeling abandoned. But it's not going to own me anymore. I'm not going to allow the feelings of being abandoned affect me spreading my message, because they actually are related. I was so afraid for so long I had stage fright. I never would have gone Facebook Live. There's all sorts of things. I had so much self-conscious belief that was weighted on things that happened before I was 3 years old. And I didn't know that. And then I learned it, and instead of doing something about it, it's really just the knowing. Once you know who you are, once you know what you are, then you can figure out how you can serve. That is the biggest message that I think that we can learn from any ascended master at all. Buddha, Jesus, any of them. Egyptian gods. Once you know who you are, and you know what you are, then you can know how you serve. And that is what we have to teach our children. But you cannot teach your children to do something that you don't know how to do. This is why we're medicating our kids. This is why we are medicating ourselves. This is why we are pretending that nothing's wrong. This is why we're taking $50 courses and $500 courses. And this is why we're telling each other that spending anything more than $1,000 is irresponsible, and all these other bullshit excuses that I hear from people all the time when they're very genuinely intrigued in working with me. Very, I could definitely help them, and then it comes to this price tag, and all I see is used car. All I see is someone who is in there so much shame and guilt about who they are and what they are that they're not willing to serve themselves by taking the plunge and investing a large amount of money to rebuild their engine, to create a whole new life for them that will take them on new adventures that they never could have imagined in their lives. When my daughter was born, there is no way I could have fathomed that I would be teaching other parents how to parent their kids, because I was so lost. But I know that that's what I was meant to do. It's what my journey is on this planet, is to teach this, is to shatter the fuck out of the parenting paradigm, to let the monster children roam free, to break down this idea of behaving and shoulds and the shame in all of it, and just create, just have fun, just live in childish awe and gratitude at every moment, because then you actually are living. You're not stuck in the past depressed, and you're not stuck in the future anxious. You're living, and your life is worth living. It's not worth medicating. It's not worth killing yourself. When you look at the suicide rate, and it's going up and up and up and up, and it's gone up 40% or some ridiculous amount like that in the last decade or two, we have to change. There's not an option anymore. There's no band-aid for this. This is the moment of dissonance. This is the moment where everything seems so chaotic and so fucked up that we have no idea how this is ever going to work. And the way it works is by every single person picking up their own damn instrument, every single person getting into their own fucking car, staying in their own lane and realizing that we can do this together, but only once we are each solid in ourselves. Solid core beliefs, solid standards, impeccable standards, unwavering belief that this is what you were meant to do. There are no accidents. You are watching this live stream for a reason, and if you are, then I urge you to really think inside of your soul if you are ready to take the leap and no longer consider yourself a used car. If you are, I will leave below the application to work with me because I am out of Facebook for the most part. I will be here every once in a while, but I really wanted to get on and have like a farewell live or whatever you want to call this. Still be around. I'm not going to completely shut down, but I know that this message is meant for the biggest stage. And right now in the digital world, at least, for what I can do as a mom with 3 small children is to move it to YouTube and to move it onto my website. My website will contain all of my super long Facebook posts. You guys have seen any new things, any new articles. I'm also working on a book that should be coming out this year. And actually a children's book too. So there's going to be like a mom version and a kid's version, and it's going to be super awesome. So does anyone have any questions? Anything that you would like to ask me before I get off? Because I think that this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to let you all know that you are worth everything that you could ever imagine. But you have to make that choice. It's not something that your husband can make. It's not something your kids can make. It's not something your parents can make. You have to make the choice that you are worth more than you could ever imagine. I'm not the used car. Okay? When you tell someone that their price for something is as much as a used car, what you're really saying is that you are not worth that much money. What you're really saying is that you are not worth the transformation that money costs. Because the transformation that I guarantee is life-changing and family-altering and will lead you to the best possible fucking life that you could ever live, because that's what I am living. And you can't teach what you don't already know. So, with that, I love you, and I'll be seeing you.